So, hello everybody. Welcome to the fifth lecture of our project ProGender that we organize at the Center for Research, at the Center of Gender Studies of Panteion University. It is the fifth lecture of the project because, as you know, the ProGender is a transnational project with Norwegian and Icelandic partners in Trondheim and Reykjavik, the Center for Gender Studies in these two universities. And we are happy to deal with 5 issues: gender and care, gender and violence, gender and science, gender and communities, and today is our 5th lecture on gender and governance. And this is a lecture that we try to examine how the pandemic has an impact on gender in governance. Before we start and give the floor to our guest today, we have the pleasure and the honor to have with us the rector of Panteion University, a woman, Professor Christina Koulouri, a woman in power also in governance of the university, and a woman, the Panteion University is the second time that has a woman rector after a lot of years. The first one was Aliki Yotopoulou Barakopoulou, and now after a lot of years we have the pleasure to have again a woman rector. And I give the floor to Professor Koulouri, who is going to address and welcome this meeting, because it's the first time it's the first time that the lecturer comes from Greece. So we thought that this is an opportunity to have a welcome speech by our rector, Christina Koulouri.
Oh, my turn, I suppose.
Yes.
Well, hello, everybody. It's a real pleasure to welcome you all to Panteion University. Although, of course, we are on screen, it is a virtual university that you are welcome now. But I really feel that we are the welcoming institution. And I would like also to welcome our lecturer, Dr. Karamanou. So I'm particularly happy for at least 2 reasons. First, because the project ProGender, I have been following their activities, and we are very glad that we are part of it, because this administration, this rectorate, really supports everything that has to do with policies of gender inequality and whatever helps us to fight any kind of discrimination, not only inside the university, but also in the society at large. The second reason is because our lecturer is Dr. Karamanou. She is a leading figure in Greek feminist movement and in the international feminist movement. She is a former member of the European Parliament, and I am honored to welcome her today to Panteion University. So thank you very much for joining us. Well, as a woman rector, I belong to a minority, as you may think, because in Greece there are 23 universities and there are only 3 women rectors. And you understand, and not maybe I am the only one who is the rector of an old university in Athens, which is also important because it's not just to be a rector, but to which university you are the rector. I would like to start with some figures which are very disappointing. In 2020, 484 boys and men entered the university as new students, and the number of girls was 1,242. So you see that we have a majority of women students. However, we have around 200 teachers, and among the teachers, there is a balance, 108 men and 90 women. But if we come to the full professors, then, well, the numbers as there are 93 professors in total. Out of them, around 59 are men and just 34 are women. So you understand that we are a university of social and political sciences where students are mainly women, but teachers, full professors, are mainly men. And I don't have to explain why this is happening. And we see the same also in other universities like positive sciences or medical schools, where although there is a balance between men and women students, there is not a balance when we come to master students or to PhD holders or to teachers. So despite the level of education that women have gained in the last decades, and although there is, of course, they have a better place as far as their work is considered, there is always a disbalance between the genders in work, and there are some professions which are characterized as women's professions and which are not paid as the men's professions, and of course very few women in business have are leaders or have a high level position. Of course, the exclusion of women in science and in politics is not due only to a kind of bottom-down mechanisms or to mechanisms controlled only by men, but it is also a question of interiorization of restrictions and choices of the women themselves, and of a set of values which determine historically what we call womanliness. And during the last days, we witnessed this traditional view of what a woman should be. Maybe you heard, of course, Greek audience heard about this conference on fertility, and this video presenting a 40-year-old woman who was really, very unhappy and looked awful, ugly, because she didn't manage to have children until her 40s. And I think that we wouldn't see such a picture of a woman lamenting over her not having a career when she in her 40s and having 2 or 3 children around her, and she washing dishes and thinking miserable. She wouldn't think of her as miserable if she had the children and washed dishes, but she feels miserable if she doesn't have children. So we see this continuation of stereotyping of what a woman is in Greek society today, and I think these are alarming signs. So I don't want to I could speak really long, but we have another lecture today. So what I want to say to come to the topic is that the topic of today's lecture is very, very critical because it shows success stories of women leaders internationally. I would like, however, to say here that women politicians should not be judged only through the gender, but also through their political positions and their policies, just as men politicians are judged and assessed. So there are some questions that I think are questions that are dealt during all these seminars, like what is a woman's identity? Is there a particular female identity? How can we combine science and politics with the other traditional roles of the woman, and how this antagonism, which characterizes politics and science, influences women's decisions to be part of it. So anyway, there are lots of questions that we can discuss. So thank you very much for being here. And I think that today we will have a chance to discuss all these issues. Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for this invitation.
We thank you, Professor Koulouri. We didn't say that you are a historian by profession, so it's important what you say about evolution in the Greek society. And as you said, it's not only the continuation of the stereotypes, but sometimes it's a backlash. This is even worse because our generation of feminism, feminists, maybe could not accept, would not tolerate this backlash. But now we are at a backlash period, and this is really more problematic than just to continue, I think. Thank you very much for that. Panteion University is a university with a Center for Gender Studies, a Master on Gender, and so on. So we are really very active on that, and we are very, very happy as feminists also to have Professor Koulouri at the position of the rector. So thank you very much. Now that we go to our speaker, Anna Karamanou. As the rector said, she was a member of the European Parliament for 7 years, and she was elected chair of the Women's Rights Committee and Gender Equality at the European Parliament. So she had really a very, very important role there. But before that, Anna Karamanou was a trade unionist, a feminist trade unionist. She has worked also as an expert for the European Commission, being the Greek expert on the network on women in decision making. And it was then when I met more closely Anna, and we became friends at the 90s in the European Commission. But also Anna was for a very short time a Secretary General for Gender Equality, a very short time, unfortunately. But also she is the founder and the first Secretary General for a lot of years of the Political Association of Women that was founded in '97. So Anna, more to that, she has received her Ph.D. Recently in 2014, and then she produced a very important book out of her PhD called Europe and Women's Rights, the Europeanization in Greece and Turkey, and Comparative Analysis. So this book is published in 2015, and is a reference book for us for the relation between Greek women, gender equality in Greece and gender equality in Turkey. So this is very, very important for us. And the last I say about Anna is that she received the prize of peace and friendship, ELEGYP, for contributing to the Greek-Turkish rapprochement. So this is Anna, a feminist, a politician, and a very good friend. Anna, the floor is yours. So, Anna, the microphone, Anna, you are mute. Okay. Okay.
Well, until I open and share my screen, I would like to thank you very much, Maria, for your nice words, as well as Rector Mrs. Christina Koulouri. I don't know how to open. It's here.
Great. It's okay. Bravo. Good.
Okay, and yeah, well, it is the first time I present a speech with a PowerPoint, and I did that just for this lecture. And so I'm not accustomed. I've worked with PowerPoint before, but not through this online speech. So is it full now? Could you see?
Yes, great. Okay, Anna.
Okay. Well, I come back again. Thank you very much, Maria. I know you are the soul of the gender Panteion activities for gender equality. Of course, you have strong support from Rector Christina Koulouri, for whom we all are proud, because she's one of the 3 rectors we have in whole Greece. And she has represented exactly the state of play in Greece regarding women, and especially regarding women at the universities in Greece. And I think it's a great contribution to our speech today. And also I would like to thank you very much, the Panteion University, for inviting me today to deliver this speech, which really has enriched my knowledge, on gender issues, and especially on issues related with this pandemic crisis. My speech will be in 2 parts, as the title indicates: presentation of the structural fundamental gender questions of the current situation first, and then secondly, the lessons learned from the pandemic and the future prospect of an inclusive and gender equal global governance. The COVID-19 crisis has exposed the vulnerabilities of our interconnected and globalized world. We all remain vulnerable to this deadly virus. No country can tackle this crisis alone, and we all remain vulnerable. As the Director General of World Health Organization highlighted, no one is safe until everyone is safe. There are no quick fix to the public health crisis. The economic impacts will be long-lasting. Mass unemployment is a threatening prospect. Decision-making bodies established specifically for COVID-19 have not reflected gender balance. Vaccines, of course, offer hope that transmission of the virus can be contained. And you see, that the nurses and midwives are the champions on this job. And they provide important first contact with vaccination services. We've seen that in Greece, very invaluable job. The pandemic threatens to undo the progress that has been made in the fight against gender inequalities. Gender dominated the clinical aspects of the pandemic, but also other urgent and pressing issues, such as domestic violence, the high mortality rate of men, and more structural and fundamental questions. However, the fact that more women are at the forefront of healthcare, cleaning, supermarket, and care providers means that women are more at risk of infection. At the same time, there is a worldwide increase in incidence of domestic violence of rates 20 to 30% everywhere. Women have lost jobs at nearly twice the rate of men. We spend 3 times more than men on unpaid care and domestic work. Decision-making bodies are neither inclusive nor diverse. Pandemic acts as a multiplier of pre-existing gender-based inequalities. Many lockdowns so they cannot offer to women services having to do with their health and mother care. And decision-making bodies established for COVID-19, this is, no, we're not still there. Yeah, this is the new leader of the World Health Organization. As I said before, decision-making bodies established specifically for COVID-19 have not reflected gender balance. In January 2020, only 7 women were invited to join the 19-member World Health Organization Emergency Committee on COVID-19, and only 2 women at the 12 members of the advisory body. The WHO's more recent decision to appoint experienced Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf, you see them in the picture, and Helen Clark, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, to lead the independent panel for pandemic preparedness and response, making 7 women in 13 members is encouraging for the promotion for more women in health leadership. And this is Helen Clark. Those two women are at the head of the World Health Organization quite recently, after their appointment. Certainly women stand at the front lines of the COVID-19 crisis. As Mary Robinson, the former Prime Minister of Norway, stated on the 8th of March 2021, the past 12 months have seen new barriers emerge to gender equality linked to the pandemic, in addition to the pre-existing social and systemic discrimination. The jobs which have been revealed to be essential during the pandemic, from health and social care to low-paid services, are predominantly held by women. We will see all countries led by women have often fared better and have demonstrated their skills and ability to effectively guide their countries in times of crisis. Yet, women are elected heads of state in only 20 countries worldwide. You can see here Greek health workers who say, "We are here for you," with love, with a heart, "but you stay home for us." I think it's a very nice picture, urging people to stay home and behave, to the recommendations of staying home. The British medical journal Global Health has published a study on the growing chorus of voices questioning the glaring lack of women in COVID-19 decision-making bodies. Men dominating leadership positions in global health has long been the default mode of governing. This is a symptom of a broken system where governance is not inclusive of any type of diversity, be it gender, geography, sexual orientation, race, socioeconomic status, or disciplines within and beyond health, excluding those who are offer unique perspectives, expertise, and lived realities. This not only reinforces discriminatory. Sorry, I have problem with my iPad. This men-dominated leadership position in global health. Yeah, I said this is a symptom of a broken system where governance is not inclusive of any type of diversity. This not only reinforces discriminatory power structure, but undermines an effective response, ultimately costing lives. Then you will see this picture is also from a hospital with health workers. And studies providing quantitative data reveal and assess the gender gap in task forces organized to prevent, monitor, and mitigate COVID-19, and emphasize the paramount exclusion of gender diverse voices. Evidently, COVID-19 governance has followed the usual modus operandi, despite numerous global and national commitments to gender responsive health governance. The global community was unprepared the moment COVID-19 struck. As a result, countries swiftly established expert decision-making bodies through the well-known traditional process, reaching out to ministry directors, prominent experts, and heads of well-known institutions. As a study published by BMJ, the British Medical Journal, shows, out of 115 identified COVID-19 decision-making and expert task forces, only 3.5% of them have gender parity in their membership. The 85.1% are majority men, and only 11.4% contain predominantly women. In conclusion, men are overrepresented in global task forces to a similar extent to that of national. That is like business as usual. Information regarding task force composition for the majority of the 87 countries, UN member states included in BMJ analysis was not easily publicly accessible. Many countries refused to give their data to the university researchers. The coronavirus crisis has highlighted and widened the persistent discrimination, disadvantage, and injustices women face. The pandemic has revealed the systemic inequalities built into numerous aspects of women's lives, from pay, employment, and work-life balance, to safety at work and in home, as well as a democratic deficit in decision-making bodies. Hard-won gains to recent decades are under threat. A creeping backlash against women's rights is already underway in some countries, as Maria Stratigaki mentioned before, and Christina Koulouri. Women have suffered disproportionately during this crisis due to long-standing failures of governance to tackle gender discrimination and create a fairer social and economic environment for both women and men. As Julian Beer and Alice Brewster of ETUC write in Social Europe on the 12th May of 2021, the paradigm guiding our economies for the past 4 decades has led to a crisis threatening to reimpose the gender stereotypes of the 1950s. This is very serious, of course. COVID-19 has demonstrated how vital care work is for society and the economy. Yet this remains grossly undervalued, and the burden in the public and private spheres still falls mainly on women. Let's listen to ETUC. As Maria said, I've been a trade union myself, and I had close relations with ETUC several years ago, of course. ETUC says that women make up 76 of the 49 million care workers. Without taking account of the many undeclared domestic carers. Health care workers have faced long working hours, leading to problems reconciling work and family life and generating more stress, anxiety, and depression. Carers fill some of the most undervalued, underpaid, and precarious jobs in the EU. More than half the personal carers in health services are among the 30% lowest paid workers. Domestic helpers, often coming from migrant backgrounds, tend to be irregularly employed with low wages. 82% are among the 20% lowest paid, and poor working conditions added to all this, and they are very vulnerable to violence and harassment. Yeah, I passed this. Yes, you've seen that. Now also a very nice photo, very nice women's faces, you know, who rally for Medicare for all. There is a direct link between the unequal division of unpaid care in household and gender inequalities in the labor market. Dealing with the bulk of unpaid care work, including its mental burden, hinders women's access to and ability to remain at work. Female physicians are faced with many challenges in medicine, ranging from implicit bias to gaps in payment and promotion to sexual harassment. It is not surprising that although equal numbers of men and women graduate from medical schools, only a small fraction of female physicians become medical leaders. As the Harvard Business School has revealed and has warned since 2018, currently in the US, only 3% of healthcare CEOs are women, 6% are department chairs, 9% are division chiefs, and 3% are serving as chief medical officers. This is despite women comprising 80% of the healthcare workforce. Also, despite evidence that having women in upper management and on corporate boards is associated with improved financial performance and enhanced accountability. You see some other nice women faces from the hospitals, and healthcare organizations, before they can make progress, need to see how well or poorly women are represented among their leadership. They'll also benefit from understanding female physicians' experience from the work in the workplace and how those compare to those of their male counterparts. Quantification is a key facilitator of change in addressing gender imbalance. A powerful example of this can be seen in the United Kingdom's Athena Swan Charter and awards. There is a very good example of the IBM's Technical Women Pipeline Program. Which is included in this study, which it's very important. If you could see, you can find this in the internet, but I cannot come to the details because to save time. But I'll mention the IBM's Technical Women Pipeline Program, which is a good example just to give you an idea how great firms work, to promote women. Established in 2010, it engages mid and senior level women identified as strong leadership candidates in a 2-day program aimed at boosting their careers. The women are paired with executive advocates with whom they work on development plans and check in on a quarterly basis after initial face-to-face meetings. The program has improved retention rates for mid and senior level technical women and increased the number of women considered distinguished engineers. Let's see now the role of women in pandemic management. It is noteworthy that during the pandemic, international public opinion and the media were impressed by the data showing that in countries led by women, the management of the health crisis had much better results with fewer deaths and lower dispersal rates. Are there any characteristics that unite New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern with Finnish Prime Minister Sanna Marin, Danish counterpart Mette Frederiksen, Norwegian Prime Minister Emma Solberg, and Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen? The truth is that there are some common features. When their countries faced the challenge of the pandemic, the women leaders took immediate action and addressed their citizens not with war shouts, shifts of responsibility and wishes as many did, but with a language of sincerity, empathy, and compassion. For women, the pandemic was a marathon race. For many men, was a war. Women leaders, here you see the women top leaders who have written history, who are still writing history, in these difficult times. Angela Merkel, known for her careful style, spoke to the people of Germany in a speech completely unusual for her own data. She said that no one is expendable and that we should all strive to save lives. And she wept when she referred to the loneliness of people who are forced to live in isolation in the country's nursing homes. In the same spirit was the statement of the Greek president of the Hellenic Republic, Katerina Sakelaropoulou, on December 17, 2020. People who die every day alone in intensive care, without a loved one holding their heart, without being able to say goodbye to their loved ones, are not simply numbers in an indifferent statistics. They have a name and a face. They are fathers, mothers, brothers, friends. When we remember them, When we mention them, we bring them back among us. When we name them, we do not let them die permanently. Please, you have to keep in mind of what follows, you know, after these statements. This is our president, the Greek president, Katerina Sakelaropoulou, and I love this picture. I love, you know, men presenting arms, you know, to the president of democracy, Mrs. Sakelaropoulou. It is still so difficult. I would like to make a comment. It's still so difficult, you know, to have women on top positions. But I think those reaching to the top are really very important women, you know. They must be the best. They usually are the best. And now I'll show you the global World Health Organization statistics, which are 9th of June 2021. It was that night that I made this research. And in 9th of June, just a few days ago, the deaths globally were, you can see, 3,764 to
3 million.
Million, yeah, 3 million, sure. 764 then. New Zealand. So keep these numbers, please. Keep these numbers, because nothing can say better the truth than statistics and mathematics. New Zealand has totally 26 victims in a population of 5 million. This makes five victims per 1 million. 5 victims for 1 million. This is the best way to measure, you know, the impact of the pandemic and the management of the pandemic. Taiwan, with a population of 24 million, has only 286 victims, which makes 12 people per 1 million. Norway, with a population of something more than 5 million, has 784 victims, which makes 144 in 1 million. Finland has some more victims, 959, with a population of 5.5 million. And Denmark, 2,052 victims, which make 340 per 1 million. Iceland with of Katrin Jakobsdottir, that I forgot to mention before. Ireland has only 30 victims, but with a population of 357,000, it's a very small country, it makes 87 victims per 1 million. And Sweden, with a man prime minister, have 14,085. You see, I think this is the best indication, 1,043 per 1 million. Greece, my country, has 1,188 per 1 million, with 10,000. Greece and Sweden have the same population. So Greece, for the first time, and on this, has done better than Sweden. Germany, just for your information, since I've checked all this, Germany 1,072 per 1 million, and Liechtenstein, which is a partner, I think, in this project, has not done very well with 1,517 per 1 million. So we can see that that there is a close connection and many similar characteristics between the countries with women as leaders. And especially, you know, in the Scandinavian countries, Finland, Denmark, Norway, and Iceland. All the Scandinavian countries have better rates, lower rates of victims, except Sweden. All the other countries have women leaders. Sweden has a man as leader. I don't know if this makes the difference, but this has provoked many studies and many research, you know, from the universities. Just for your information, I would like to give you very fast, you know, just to make you compare, you know, what's going on in the world, since we talk about this pandemic, you know, that inflicts the whole world. Peru is the worst country in the whole earth, 5,603 per 1 million. And the worst in EU, in European Union, is Hungary with 3,101. And over 2,000 victims per 1 million, have Brazil, Italy, Belgium, Czechia, Slovakia, Bulgaria, Slovakia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, North Macedonia, Montenegro, San Marino, Gibraltar. Less than 2,000 victims per 1 million have Greece, France, Spain, Sweden, Portugal, Austria, Russia, Turkey. And one surprise, because we've seen many horrible pictures on TV, you know, these days of what is going on in India. But India is a country with 1,400,000,000 people. And this makes only 255 people per 1 million. This is the real data, you know, and not those, you know, given by the media and showing that that almost India is dying, the whole population is dying. New Zealand is way out in front, of course. Business leaders, when assessing different countries' management of the COVID crisis, they put New Zealand in the front. The survey of 700 senior executives also found New Zealand was the country that they would be most confident about investing in. Labour Party finance spokesman and minister Grant Robertson seized on the survey as an endorsement of its policies. When the rest of the world is looking at New Zealand and saying that is the way to do it, we can have confidence that our response here is worth it, he said. He also said the government's plan to go hard and early against the virus has been a success. We have one of the most open economies in the world because we set out the plan and we stuck to it. Our clear plan to deal with COVID-19 is being noticed, particularly from global businesses. Our strong and steady COVID response means we are opening up investment opportunities to support the recovery and rebuild. So the post-COVID-19 future, a recovery for a strong, stable global health system, and women, of course, continue to struggle for an equal future. The development of new technologies is a great asset for inclusive progress. The protection of the environment and health, as well as high social standards, must be at the heart of our economic plans and policies. Functional health systems require radical and systemic change that ensure gender response and intersectional practices to be the norm. Open, inclusive, and transparent communication and decision-making must be prioritized over closed doors or traditional forms of governance. Data collection and governance policies must include sex and gender data. Certainly, we need a greener, fairer, and more gender-balanced public sphere. The post-COVID period is an important opportunity for women to participate in the social recovery and recovery of the economy. The real recovery can be successful if we pursue a greener, fairer, and more gender-balanced public sphere. Therefore, key funds for reconstruction must integrate the gender dimension, ensuring that women can benefit fully in terms of employment and entrepreneurship. Gender mainstreaming and gender budgeting is needed in all policies. Of course, also funding of active feminist organizations of civil society, and of course, universities like Panteion and the ProGender project of Maria Stratigaki. In addition, we can seize the opportunity to better represent women in areas where they are traditionally underrepresented, such as digital technologies, artificial intelligence, ICT, and STEM, meaning science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Here is shown according to the European Institute, European Gender Equality Institute Index of 2020. The EU scores only 65.9% on gender equality and is at least 60 years away from reaching complete equality at the current pace. So our duty is to speed up progress. We need the natural balance of 50-50. You can see that we have very few women on the boards of the business, and this is in the plans of the European community, of the European Commission, and the gender plans, the gender strategic plan, you know, to increase that by 2025 to 50-50. So, inclusive leadership is urgently required at local, national, and global levels to improve pandemic preparedness and responses in conflict settings. Recent evidence during pandemic-19 on women's entry to the corridors of power, whether in governance or other public domains, emphasize women's special abilities in negotiate this line presented that we need a global cooperation on climate change, pandemic prevention, equitable And Maria, thank you very much.
I thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.